do this remedy and you can get a job. Within a week, I got 3 random opportunities out of nowhere, all Delhi based. It's like if you have a toilet in the northeast, you're blindfolded. So even if there's a problem in your life, you will not be able to see it.
Want to understand the mythology or the science behind Vastu?
If I ask you कि chemical composition of डोलो क्या है, you know this? नहीं, खाते हो तो ठीक हो जाता है ना fever. Similarly, if you go into the depth of Vastu, you'll understand chemical composition क्या है. Vastu is something which has survived 6,000 years. कुछ तो होगा जो वो survive किया. नहीं तो just like your great grandfather, हम भूल जाते ना.
Only homes need Vastu. What are the most common mistakes that developers or builders make?
When I actually checked the directions, there was an error of 45 degree. The builder was claiming east facing apartment, north facing apartment. Market ही ऐसा किया था. But this east was actually southeast facing.
First of all, circles and curves are not welcomed by Vastu at all. Am I right?
Let's move ahead.
People do believe that Vastu is connected somehow to the Hindus. So, is that a myth or not? Hello everyone, welcome back to Speaking Real Estate podcast. Today with us we have Mrs. Savii, who has practiced architecture and studied architecture, and then she started consulting various people for Vastu. And today's session is going to be revolving around how Vastu impacts our life and is important in the formation of our homes and offices and in this real estate industry. So I'm very delighted and happy to host you, and thank you so much for becoming a part of this.
Likewise, pleasure to be here today.
So I want to start off with a myth itself. So people say that south-facing homes aren't good for people. Is that so?
Okay. South-facing homes are not always bad. They're tricky. So if I have to explain it to you, if let's say this is a house and this is how your directions are. The thing is, the directions that fall over here towards this side, they are extremely good. So they can take you really high. If you've seen biggest actors, biggest industrialists, they would always have a south-facing home. However, if your entrance comes towards this side of the south, that could be bang opposite and take you down. So which is why having a south entrance is tricky. That's why people are afraid of it, because they've seen the extremes. But having a south entrance is necessarily bad. That's not true. If that was so, then Mr. Amitabh Bachchan lives in a south-facing house.
Okay, wasn't aware of that, but I think so the small difference of having a southeast home over a southwest home makes the whole difference and a big change to people's lives. So now coming to the normal flow where I start with people's education, would want to know your education and your journey before getting into Vastu.
Right. So I wanted to be an architect since I was in the 10th grade. So I'd gone for a student exchange trip to Switzerland. And I was in the middle of this river. We were crossing 2 cities and just staring at the buildings over there. I used to be a very studious kid. At the same time, I used to be very creative as well. So I was constantly thinking that, okay, how do I combine my theory with, my design stuff? So when I looked at the buildings over there, I was like, that aha moment, this is what I want to do in life. That's when I got the purpose of, I want to design beautiful buildings. That's what I want to do. So that's where it started. I was in the 10th grade at that time. I came back, I studied. I was studying in Ajmer at that point. That's my hometown. And 2 years of studying over there, then prepared myself for the exams and stuff for the entrance. Got myself admitted to Kamla Raheja, Mumbai. That's where I did my architecture from. That was my number one list in this thing that, okay, this is where I want to do my architecture from. Got over there. So yeah, that's how I got into architecture. Now, coming to the part of how did I get into Vastu? Unfortunately, in any architecture college, Vastu is not something that is spoken about. If you talk about Vastu, it's just like saying that if you can design as per good light and ventilation, you don't have to bother about it. That's the entire idea. And that's what I also learned over there. However, I started working in Delhi, my first job. So after 7 years of studying, I was like, finally, I can live my dream, the purpose that I was wanting to live for. And I get this first client within a few weeks of working in that office. I get this first client, the project that I would be handling. So I'm very excited for this project, right? So it's a built villa in Noida that the client had bought. And they had contacted the firm to do the interiors, and I was supposed to handle that project. So first meeting, very excited. First meeting after 7 years of studying. Super excited, got some design stuff going on. And when the client walked in, even before I could speak anything, the client goes like, so I met a Vastu consultant, and this is the layout that the Vastu consultant has given. So please do the designs according to it. And that was the first reality check for me, that I was like, I studied for 7 years to get this degree, and who's this Vastu consultant now? That was my reaction. But obviously, this was my first job, first project. Couldn't say much. So took it, reframed the designs, and then, prepared for the next meeting, only to figure out that this time he had met another Vastu consultant. And of course, he had a different opinion. So now we have to change everything. And this went on for a period of 6 months, where he would come, he would say something, and things would change. So for a period of 6 months, we couldn't even come to mood boards. It was that bad. I was cursing Vastu and Vastu consultants every single day. Every single day. And to a point that when I had this reality check and a few others, because what you learn in college, that's more of design. But when you get into practice, it's more of working, drawing, handling things on site, etc. So there were things that I didn't like about the practicing as an architect, which I thought I would like, because I was more in the design stuff, but the design bit was very small and the other bit was much more. And then this Vastu incident. So I was like, if this is what practicing in India is like, then, I don't want to do it. I wanted to pursue sustainable architecture from UK, but then after that experience, I was like, there's no point. I want to settle in India. Like, people will not understand this, so there's no point. So I went ahead and I did got into architecture journalism, because I loved researching and writing. So I said, let me, get into architecture journalism. So I started working there. I got married right before COVID in Jan 2020. And because of my wedding, I'd taken a couple of months break from work to stay back home with my family. And I was supposed to rejoin on 21st March 2020, which is when Modi ji decided to say India goes on a lockdown. So that happened. And then I was like, okay, fine. Now what do I do? I was in Gurgaon and obviously everything's shut. I couldn't rejoin work. I was sitting home jobless with no mates. Of course, that's a big thing because COVID, everything, like who would have thought that this is going to happen, and now married. So career coming to a halt. It was really, really frustrating. I felt like my life is falling apart. So I said, I need to do something. And there were no architecture, journalism-based jobs in Delhi at that point. Everything is Bombay-based or Bangalore. So I was like, okay, what do I do now? So I spoke to people, my relatives and stuff. So my mama suggested me that, why don't you learn something, job nahi lag raha hai abhi, to, why don't you learn something, learn shares, learn Vastu. So he threw ideas at me. I tried learning about stocks and shares, but being from a science background, I was like, this is not something I can do. This is beyond me. I started researching about Vastu. I was like, okay, if my client believed in Vastu so much, and at that point, the family I got married to, my father-in-law had been following Vastu for 20 years.
Okay.
And just listening to his story about how it changed his life, it just got me curious that, maybe there's something that I don't know as an architect that does work in Vastu and which I should be knowing. If there's something working, then I should be knowing about it.
Right.
So I put my architect ego aside and said that, okay, let me learn this. Anyway, job to nahi lag raha hai, so let me learn this. That's how I found a course and I got myself enrolled there. Lucky for me, this was the first time they were moving the classes online because of COVID. So I got in, and when I started learning about Vastu, because I was from I'm from a very logical mindset. So one of the initial things I learned over there was do this remedy and you can get a job. And I was looking for a job at that point. I was like, jobless architect, all I had to do is measure draw my house I was living in, put it on AutoCAD, and then find out that particular direction and put up money plant over there.
Put up?
Money plant. So towards the north direction, I had to put a blue color bottle, glass bottle, fill it with water, and I had to put a money plant over there. So it was easy for me to figure out where that was in my house. I did it. I was like, okay, what's there to lose? Within a week, I got 3 random opportunities out of nowhere, all Delhi based. I was like, come on, like this is manifestation. ऐसे थोड़ी होता है, मतलब how is this even possible? So I started doing more things. I was learning. So I started testing more things to see, okay, is it really working? And I started seeing results. So every time I would see a result, I would say, my logical mind would say that manifestation है यार, पता था ये होना इसीलिए हुआ है, ऐसे थोड़ी. So I said कि something I need to do now. How do I understand if it is psychological or if it is actually working? So I went ahead and I did like 50 free case studies for people around me, where I would go to a relative's house. I would check the house because these are people who I would know. So I would know what are their strengths, weaknesses, or what they're going through. So I would tell them, okay, you're sitting here, you sit over here and work. You're sitting here and watching TV, you shift the sofa and you do it like this. But I wouldn't tell them what to expect out of it. I would just tell them some minor changes, change this curtain color, move this photograph location. I would just tell them minor things. And then I said, I'll call you after 1 month. When I called them after a month and I asked them, okay, now what is it that you felt? And the answers that they gave me was exactly matching the theory that I was expecting. And I started with 1 and I went ahead and did 50 just to be very, very sure. And I was like, it's not psychological, it's still working. If it was psychological, then they should have gotten the results. But they got it. So that's when I started taking it more seriously. And when that happened, my husband pushed me that, you need to update it on your profile. Until this time, when I was learning Vastu or doing these experiments, I had not publicly, even with the people I knew, told them that this is what I'm doing or trying. Because I was very skeptical that, what are they going to think? Because I've been a part of that community of architects where we used to curse Vastu, right? Because, the client is harassing us because of Vastu. So I was like, how do I go out there in the public and say, this is what I do now? But then after this experience, my husband was like, you need to put it out there if this is what you want to do. I said, but what will people say? Like, if somebody else would have done this, I would have questioned him. But then he said that, see, everybody has a journey. And if you really believe it is working and it is helping, and if this is what you want to do, you need to make it public. So that's when, after a lot of mental resistance, I updated my LinkedIn. Within 2-3 weeks, I get a message on LinkedIn that, we are an astrology-based app and we're looking for hiring freelance Vastu consultants. I had just finished my course at that point. I was like, wow, they're going to give me free cases. That's what I needed, because I wanted to test my knowledge on more people to be sure of it's working or not. So obviously I immediately said yes. And then we were supposed to do on-site visits, but second wave of COVID hit and we couldn't do on-site. So I was like, now that I'm on the app, let me do something. So I figured a way to do it online because of my knowledge of AutoCAD and the other softwares, because of architecture. I started doing it online and people started getting results. And at that point, these apps were investing heavily on their marketing. So I got to do like more than 1,700 clients in just 1.5 years. If COVID would have not been there,
It will be difficult to visit offline and do
if
it.
it was on site, I wouldn't even have done 100 cases in 1.5 years. But because of this, I was able to do so much. And because on the app, it was like on a per minute basis, anybody can call you. So these were people from any and every income group, right? So these could be people from India, any part of India or outside. These could be, builders or, people from the top, or it could be, let's say, a remote carpenter from UP as well. So when I saw Vastu of people from different income stratas, I was able to relate and check why things are the way they are, which gave me a lot of exposure as to, just confirming that, yes, it is working. And so after, I think I did around 1,000 cases at that point, and I realized that, a lot of projects, we would get stuck because there would be a toilet in the northeast. And the northeast direction is linked with the mental clarity. And mental clarity, mental peace It's like if you have a toilet in the northeast, you're blindfolded. So even if there's a problem in your life, you will not be able to see it. It makes you blind. So it could be if you're facing a health problem, you would feel, okay, my hand is aching. I'll go to the doctor. All my reports will come normal. But you'll say, my hand is still aching. But the doctor will say, there's no problem. Please go home. So your actual reason for the issue doesn't get identified. Be it your health problem, be it your career problem. You might say that, I'm trying 10 things in my life. Nothing is working out. You won't be able to understand, oh, you're not marketing yourself. How will things work out? A third person can tell you. You will not be able to identify it. So that happens in every area of your life. Be it your relationship. So fighting amongst the family members. And they're thinking that, why is my son not listening? Why is my wife not listening? And the other person is thinking the same thing because they can't see each other's perspective. So when I saw a lot of cases, one such case which I saw was, so this was a couple, husband and wife, and they had a daughter. And they moved to their father's house after the wife's mother passed away. They moved in with their father. Now it was like a 2 BHK sort of a house. And she said that since the time we've moved in here, her father, after the mother passing away, he had started getting involved with other women. And she said that, we're trying a lot to help him, to explain to him that, what is it that you're doing? But he's just not listening. And when I checked the house, there was a toilet in the northeast, which means that he was himself not realizing what he was doing. And hence, even if the daughter was saying anything, he was not understanding.
So, there's a toilet in the northeast. Does it mean the toilet has to be, does not have to be in the northeast of the whole flat or of the room? From where does a particular person takes the area, considering the area?
So the directions of your house are always checked with respect to the center of the property. So if this is how my directions are, I will check it from this center point, which side is my northeast. So if there is a toilet anywhere over here, I will say it's falling in the northeast. So in her case, there were 2 toilets and one of it which was falling here in the northeast. So I said that, since there are 2 toilets, is it possible for you to not use the toilet seat in this toilet? She said, yes, I can manage. So she did it and she closed it immediately. She wasn't using this one. Within 10 days, she called me back and said that, finally now my father is listening. He's slowly coming out of it. So that clarity started kicking in. So this was just one case. So I saw multiple cases like this where families' lives were getting spoiled because of this. And at that point, of course, I always wanted to be an architect. So I never left my flair or my interest for design. So I was watching this architect's lecture on online about this project that they built in Karjat. So it was a beautiful hill. Okay. Now imagine this was the hill and the client owned the entire hill. And the architect, they had to design a weekend home in this property so that the family lived in Bombay, so that, on the weekends they can go there. Now, if a family is going to their weekend home in Karjat from Bombay, what is the first thing that they'll want to feel when they go there?
Welcoming.
When they stay there, happy, peace, shanti, like from the busy life of Bombay, that's what you would want. And now imagine, Karjat being Karjat, like this was full of trees, of course. And the architect could do anything on this hill. So they designed a home at the hilltop. Okay. Now in this hilltop, when she started explaining the design, the first thing the architect said was, so we started with the toilet in the northeast. And when I watched that presentation, I was like, oh my God, this is such a big mistake, because until then, I had already seen more than 1,000+ cases where I'd seen families going through problems because of this. So when I saw that video, I was like, now that I've had that journey of, not believing in Vastu to now me believing in it and helping people with it, I was like, I need to bring this out to more architects, more people from the real estate who are actually building the buildings, so that if they know how to design as per Vastu, the world could be happier, we wouldn't need Vastu consultants anymore. So that was the whole idea. So I just put out this thought in the universe saying that, I need to create this awareness amongst my community that I've come from, so that the homes that we're designing, because I was all about beautiful buildings, right? That's what I thought when I saw those buildings in Switzerland. I want to design beautiful buildings. But having seen people living in beautiful homes and not happy, I said, beautiful home is not the thing to aim for. It should be a beautiful home that can give you a beautiful life. So that's what the thought I put out in the universe. And within, again, 2-3 weeks, I get a message on LinkedIn from someone from Kaarwan saying, we're a company, and we do online courses for architects, and we're looking for an architect to take up Vastu for our architecture community. I was all in. I was waiting for that, and that's the thought I had put out in the universe. I obviously said yes. So that's when I started teaching Vastu to architects as well. So that so a lot of times I get asked that, as a practitioner of Vastu, we call ourselves as India's only architect-driven Vastu practice. That's our USP. Now, because of that, of course, we attract a lot of clients. Now, since that is our USP, a lot of times we get asked that, if that is your USP, why do you want to teach it to more people? You're creating competition for yourself. Why would you do that? And I said, see, the idea is for me not me be the hero, but, create an army of architects who can help people not just live in beautiful home, but have a beautiful life, so that people can live happier. So that's the bigger mission that I have. So which is why I never think in the direction that, if I teach them everything, why will people come to me? Because there's so many people in the world who are not happy and who need help. So the more people I teach, together we can help more people, because me as an individual or my company, we can only help a handful of people because of the limited number of hours. But if there are more people like me, together we can do more. So that's where how it flew and started.
That's a great vision to have, that it's actually making a change for the people and for the world, the way you said about making all the architects aware of the Vastu thing. So I want to come to a very basic thing, or maybe a question that has been arising in my mind since the time I'm listening to you. So you do a change in your house and it affects or does some change to your life. You move a sofa, you move a toilet, you move a room, directions or whatever, and your life changes. What is causing that change? And how, want to understand the mythology or the science behind Vastu?
So let's say you have a stomachache. Okay. You have a stomachache. What's the first thing you'll do?
Maybe try to go to the loo or take a medicine.
Right. Or you will Google something.
Yeah.
Let's say it doesn't get solved.
Right.
What will you do?
There's no option, I think so. There's no remedy.
You'll have to go to the doctor, no?
Yeah. Doctor, sorry.
There is an option. Google is not the doctor. You'll have to go to the doctor.
Yeah.
Now, when you go to the doctor, what is the doctor going to ask you?
कब से हो रहा है?
कब से हो रहा है, right? क्या खाया था कल?
क्या खाया?
Last time कब खाया था? और क्या खाया था? बाहर खाया था क्या? पहले ऐसा हुआ है क्या? He'll understand your case history, right? On the basis of your answers, he might say, ठीक है, ये वाला एक्सरे कराओ, ये कराओ, food poisoning हुआ है, या whatever, right? On the basis of that, he'll might give you some x-rays to do to identify which organ is causing that problem.
Yes.
Right? Let's say it's a basic stomachache. Let's say basic stomachache था. So now, if he gives you a paracetamol, उसे solve होगा? Will that solve your problem?
No.
No, because it's meant for fever, not your stomachache.
If you take the patient of a patient having a fever and the doctor gives the medicine, a crocin or a dolo.
Yeah, exactly. So paracetamol, dolo, crocin. If the doctor gives you a dolo for your stomachache, it's not going to get solved. You need to have a Miftal spar, so some other stomach-related medicine. Similarly, just like your body has, depending on your symptom, the doctor identifies the organ and then gives you a medicine. Similarly, Vastu works exactly like this. Your house actually depicts every area of your life. So if you see here, is this going to come in the frame? Yeah. So if you see here, there are 16 directions which are there. Okay. Now, each of these directions represent different areas, aspects of your life. So, for example, the north direction, it's linked with the financial opportunities you get in life. The northeast direction is linked with the health part of your life. The northeast direction is linked with your mental peace, mental clarity, getting you the right direction to move forward. The east-northeast direction is linked with you with your vacations, with your fun, the fun part of your life. The east direction is linked with your social association, social networking, etc. So this is how each of these 16 zones represent a different aspect of your life. Now, depending on your problem, in this case, instead of a stomachache, let's say you say that, let's say my projects are stuck, my client projects are stuck. So I will ask you, okay, kab se ho raha hai? So you might say that 2 years, 3 years, 6 months, whatever. Then the next thing I might ask you is, ye ghar mein ya ye office mein kab shift hua hai? So you might say 2 months, 6 months, 10 months, whatever. So just like the doctor tries to match the parallel, right? कि timeline का problem कब से हुआ and उस time पे क्या change किया. तो we try to trace the exact thing कि ये problem कब से start हुआ. Maybe you renovated your house, तब से start हुआ.
What changed?
What change did you do? Or you could say that since the time I moved to this house ऐसा हो रहा है.
Right.
तो we match a timeline to understand, okay, ये इस property से आ रहा है. Once we understand that, then we know कि अच्छा कुछ चीज़ अटक रही है. तो आउट ऑफ दीज 16 जोन लाइक स्टमक एक हो रहा है तो मैं मेरा पैर तो चेक नहीं करूंगी, मैं किडनी चेक कर लूंगी, लिवर चेक कर लूंगी, स्टमक चेक कर लूंगी, पैर नहीं चेक करूंगी. तो सिमिलरली डिपेंडिंग ऑन योर सिम्टम वी नो विच एरिया टू चेक इन योर हाउस. तो वील चेक दैट कि अच्छा इस एरिया में क्या चेंज किया आपने, या पहले क्या था, अभी क्या है. तो दैट विल गिव अस एन आंसर ऑफ क्या चेंज किया है, एंड देन अकॉर्डिंगली विल गिव यू अ डोलो, क्रोसिन, मिफ्ताल्पास डिपेंडिंग ऑन द प्रॉब्लम. दैट्स हाउ इट सॉल्व्स द प्रॉब्लम. So just like, imagine 150 years ago when there were no medical science, okay? And let's say you had fever. कोई आपको गोली देता, let's say जेम्स की गोली देता, बोलता इससे सॉल्व हो जाएगा. तो आप मानते उसकी बात? नहीं मानते ना. बट यू नो नाउ कि उसमें केमिस्ट्री डली हुई है, कुछ सॉल्ट्स उन्हें मिक्स किए, दैट्स व्हाई इट वर्क्स. Similarly, the way Vastu has been marketed, that's why we feel, यहाँ पे मेरे साउथ ईस्ट में ब्लू कलर था, आपने रेड चेंज कराया, मेरा प्रॉब्लम सॉल्व हो गया, ये तो मैजिक है. मैजिक नहीं है. देयर इज अ साइंस बिहाइंड इट. इफ आई आस्क यू कि केमिकल कॉम्पोजिशन ऑफ डोलो क्या है, यू नो दिस? नहीं. खाते हो तो ठीक हो जाता है ना फीवर. सिमिलरली इफ यू गो इन टू द डेप्थ ऑफ वास्तु, यूल अंडरस्टैंड केमिकल कॉम्पोजिशन क्या है. साउथ ईस्ट इज योर फायर कॉर्नर, दैट इज लिंक्ड विद योर फ्लो, कैश फ्लो एंड things to move smoothly in your life. If your projects are getting stuck, your fire element is not working क्योंकि वो आपके लाइफ में फ्लो ला रहा था जो अब रुक के चीज़ें हो रही है. If it is a fire corner and if I use a blue color, that means it's a water element.
Right.
If I change it to a fire color, तो उससे मेरी problem solve हो जाएगी.
Understood. You did beautifully explain, like, because till the end I was like, where is the science behind it? But when you said like, I don't know the chemical composition of a dolo, so there is a chemical composition of a dolo, so there is a science behind that.
Exactly.
For that, I'll need to put in time. And
exactly. See, medical science तो अभी आया है. Now, let me ask you another question. I'm asking you more questions, but okay. You know your father?
Yeah.
You know your grandfather's name?
Yeah.
You know your great-grandfather's name? You know your great-great-great, like his father's name?
No.
No. तो मानते 300 years के पहले, whatever happened in your family line, you don't know.
Yes.
Right? He might have been a great man. Of course, that's why this lineage continued, right? But you don't know. You don't know his name. Why? Because we don't know, right? That's how we humans are. 300 साल के बाद expire. Whatever we are talking about right now, 100 साल, 200 साल, maximum 300 साल खत्म हो जाएगा. इतना भी नहीं चलेगा, right? Vastu is something which has survived 6,000 years. कुछ तो होगा जो वो survive किया. नहीं तो just like your great-great-grandfather, हम भूल जाते ना. If it has continued, कुछ तो है that maybe we don't know, which is why it survived.
Fair enough. So we'll divert the discussion towards like, only homes need Vastu.
Do you face problems in business?
Everyone
Of
does.
course. Do you face problems at city level? Of course,
Everyone, there are problems in every aspect of your life.
basically, I'll tell you where is Vastu coming from. Now, imagine a period of time in India when the modernized word architecture did not exist. Now, you studied architecture. Have you heard the name of Newforts, the book Newforts that we refer to as a standard book? So we as architects use it as a standard. Restaurant banana hai, what should be the standards? Refer to Newforts. Clinic banana hai, what should be the standards? We refer to Newforts. Now I'm talking about a period of India when Newforts ही नहीं था, जो आज हमारा बाइबल है. Architecture word ही नहीं था. तो now if people wanted to construct, रह तो रहे थे ना, कुछ तो बना रहे थे. So if people wanted to construct, there was no science, there was nothing. So that's when Vastu Shastra was evolved. So Vastu Shastra is an ancient science of architecture developed in India
Correct.
during a period of time where the modernized word architecture also did not exist. So it's a science of building anything that you want to construct, be it your house, office, hospital, school, public park, planning a city. It works at every scale.
So, wanting to come to you and asking that what are the most common mistakes that developers or builders make?
The first and foremost, the most common mistake that builders or architects make is indicating a north direction in their drawing. Most of the time, let's say if this is the layout, okay, they would put up a north sign randomly like this. Okay. Now, the thing is, as per Vastu, there are 16 directions. And if I ask you, if you're standing over here and if you take a round and come back, how many degrees will you have covered? 360. And now if I divide it by 16, what will I get?
You get 180, 22 and a half.
22 and a half, right? So now imagine if my directions are changing after every 22 and a half degree, even if I make a 5-degree error in this north, the entire analysis changes. So if any builder wants to design, if they want to claim that yes, they're doing it as per Vastu, the first and foremost thing they need to focus on drawing a north correctly. It is very ironic how when I see projects in India versus when I see layouts in US. In US, when we get a layout from there and if there is a north marked in the layout, it is exactly correct. Like there's not even a 1-degree error in the plans we get from there. But when we've received plans from Indian builders or Indian projects, we've gotten degree variations like 25, 45, 65 degrees also. Because if the plot is tilted like this, and let's say ऐसा north है, so if they're drawing the plan like this, तो भी इसको भी वो ऐसा ही north बना देंगे. Because as a builder, it doesn't make much of a difference to you, right? If you're showing the site context and stuff, it doesn't make much of a difference to you. But if you're saying that we're doing it as per Vastu, the first thing that you need to correct is the north that you make. Because most of the times what happens is, on the basis of this drawing that the builder gives, because the general public who's buying these apartments, most of the time, they just visit the launch on the base and the project is not out there, right? It hasn't even started on site. So on the basis of this drawing, they will mark the directions of the apartment. People who want to buy Vastu compliant homes, they will mark the directions for the apartment on the basis of this north, which is actually not correct.
It's a very small thing, but is a very big
difference, because then we've gotten. So there was the one funny story. Okay, so in Hyderabad, people follow Vastu very extensively, very rigorously. So there was one client who came to us and he said that I want to buy a house in a township, and there were 2 options. Like there were 4 options. Okay, multiple towers. There were 4 options. He said there's a north-facing option, there's a south-facing option, there's a west-facing option, and there's a east-facing option. Okay. So he said, south तो खरीदते नहीं है, तो मुझे नहीं खरीदना. East ना बहुत महंगा है, because it's an east-facing and it's Hyderabad, so the builder is selling it for an expensive price. If you tell me north or west में इन दोनों में, I can go, because this is fine and this fine as per Vastu also, and महंगा नहीं है at least. When I actually checked the directions, there was an error of 45 degree. The builder was claiming east facing apartment, north facing apartment. Market ही ऐसा किया था. But this east was actually southeast facing.
Got it.
So I was like, what is it that's happening? Because as people from real estate, if we are not making this correctly, how will a layman know? उनको तो पता है, like
there's no way for
Yeah,
them to know and be aware.
exactly.
Fair enough. So Bombay has a huge amount of stalled projects. Like I feel in the whole of India, the maximum number of units or the amount of inventory that's stuck, it's highest in India, and it's Bombay. What would be your way of reasoning in terms of how Vastu can be used to justify these stalled projects?
Uh, so if let's say you're a builder and if your plot is stalled, we would first want to identify the southeast corner of your property, because depending on why is it stalled, okay, is it because of legal issues? Is it because, let's say, the labor isn't working or something? Is it because every time you start, something happens and then, instability issues? It depends on what is the issue, regulatory issue. So one reason for if there are legal issues that are happening, it would be linked with the southeast. Okay, southeast is the fire corner, and it is also linked with your legal issues that comes in a property. Now, what are the issues that you can do in southeast? The most common mistake you can make is a hole over there. So it is very, very easily possible that if a site is under construction, there is undulation on the plot. And when there's undulation, you might also, have some dug up holes. In Bombay monsoons, right? You could have holes randomly. Now, any hole in the ground represents a water element, even if there's water inside it or not. So if, let's say, there is a lot of, not just water, hole, a big hole in your southeast, that would act as a water element. Another reason could be that towards your southwest, let's say you've taken that as the most lowest portion on your side. So southwest is linked with giving you stability for the project. It's linked with project smoothly finish hole. If there are issues in the southwest, you do something, then you go down. You do something, then you go down. You do something, you go down. If your graph is going like this, then you should be checking your southwest. You must have made a mistake there. If you feel that समझ ही नहीं आ रहा है क्यों हो रहा है, मतलब clueless, random things are happening because of, let's say, you're not even at fault, but फिर भी हो रहा है and randomly हो रहा है, that means it's a clarity issue. Like you're blind, you can't identify the problem. If you can't identify the problem, check your northeast. A lot of times, ongoing work site pe, you'll have a lot of construction material coming in. If you've stocked all of that in the northeast, just remove it from there and put it in your southwest instead.
It shouldn't be heavy.
It shouldn't be heavy on that side, because that's your mind, right? अब मैं mind पे बहुत बोझा रख दूंगी तो how will I operate, right?
That same principle follows for home as well?
Same thing. In your house, if there are clarity issues, and if, let's say, in the northeast, you've used it as a storeroom, mentally you will not understand what do I do, what do I not do. Even if you have everything in life, let's say you have no issues, still mentally you will feel very burdened. You will feel, even after everything, why am I not happy? You won't have mental peace.
What if there are pillars and partitions, boundaries inside a person's home in the northeast area?
That will, वो तो होना ही पड़ेगा ना. If you're talking about apartments in Bombay where the real estate is so expensive and the houses are really small, it's not possible कि कुछ भी नहीं हो, right? Now, when we talk about heaviness or lightness, see, your northeast corner, see, if this is a property, your northeast corner should be the lightest and your southwest corner should be the heaviest. Okay, now, one idea is, let's say, if I make a solid wall here, okay, and let's say I make a big slider window here. It's in proportion, right? ये solid wall मैंने 9 inch का wall ले लिया यहाँ पे, and I put big sliders here.
So the remedy is to make that other portion heavier.
Proportionately, yeah. So it doesn't mean कि मैं यहाँ पे bed नहीं रख सकती. It doesn't mean I can't put a cupboard here. It depends on proportion कि southwest मैंने कितना भारी किया हुआ है. उसके comparison में it should be lighter.
So like if there's some heavy structure and it cannot be moved, remedy is to make the southwest heavier than
Yeah,
that.
if you can't make your northeast lighter, make your southwest heavier.
And it's same thing
Vice versa.
for the plots and for construction of buildings as
Yeah,
well.
let's say
So like you shouldn't construct your building in this corner of the plot.
yes, this should be the open area. Now again, let's say if you're talking about Bombay, you leave a minimum offset area and charo sides so you will construct, right?
Yes.
Now, let's say there is this plot and let's say you have to leave a minimum offset of 10 feet on all four sides. Okay. And let's say directions ऐसे ही आ रहे हैं. Now, अगर ये minimum 10 feet का मुझे छोड़ना है, तो what I can do is towards these two sides, towards my north and east, इसमें 12 छोड़ दिया. If the building bylaws allow कि यहाँ 8 कर सकते हो, मतलब overall proportion if you see कि carpet area कितना cover करना है, तो proportionately इसको कहीं ज़्यादा करना है. Doesn't mean कि पूरा खुला ये, I'm not saying कि इसको पूरा खुला छोड़ दो, वो possible ही नहीं है.
So like how you mentioned earlier about like how legal issue is concerned with the southwest area of the
Southeast.
southeast area of the building. So like northeast area is concerned with any particular kind of issue.
When you can't even identify you have an issue, that is linked with northeast. Like for example, let's say in a house, how will you know if your northeast is working fine or not? Okay. If your northeast is not working fine, you would notice that you get some pain in your body. Some family member, again, if there are 5 family members, ऐसा नहीं होगा 5 को same problem होगा. It could be maybe family में 2 जनों को ऐसा होता है कि they feel okay, my knee hurts. So I've gotten all tests done from the doctor, but my doctor says my knee is fine, but my knee still hurts. So कुछ तो है, मतलब there's something which he's not able to catch, right? Similarly, let's say
So whenever there is not a solution which you don't know, you lighter the northeast.
let's say you are here in your career right now, okay? You are here. And let's say you know this is my aim after 5 years, I will achieve this. Now, depending on how your northeast is, you can reach like this. You can reach like this. You can reach like this. But if your northeast is done properly, you will reach like this. It gives you clarity. Now, imagine if you're walking on a staircase like this ladder, you're climbing up this ladder. If you've done the first step, if somebody tells you, okay, for you to reach here, this is the next step. So if somebody keeps giving you the direction, so you'll reach there faster, no? With lesser ups and downs. That's what Northeast does in your life.
If like the northeast area of the home is built by some member of the family, it's not like every person in the family was involved or took that decision to make that interiors, or maybe talk about the projects that being developed by the developer. So does that thing affect only one person if it's in a home, or it affects the whole family?
Okay.
Or in the developer, does it affect the company itself, or might affect more number of people? Or
okay, so let's
parties.
first talk about the house.
Yeah.
Okay. Have you, how many houses have you lived in your life?
3 to 4.
3 to 4. When was the last time you moved to your current house?
6-7 years ago.
6-7 years ago. So the kind of sleep quality, the kind of energy, the kind of, let's say, your father's business growth, what was there in the previous house, is it exactly the same here? No. Some things might have become better, some things might have become worse, right? Did it change for you, for just your father? Did it change for you, your mom, your entire family?
Everyone.
Everyone. When you go for a vacation, let's say you're going for a 10 days vacation to a resort, is your sleep pattern, your energy level, your mood level exactly the same how it is in your house? No. There would have been cases where you go to a resort. Now you might say that resort, I'm going to a resort, I'll obviously feel good. But you might have also experienced that you went to some hotels and you got nightmares and you weren't able to sleep properly as well. So why does that happen? You didn't build it. You don't even own it. You're just going there for 10 days. These are energies of a space, okay? The energies don't ask, knock, knock. Did you build this? Okay, you didn't build this. Sorry to disturb. I'll go to the other person. It doesn't ask that. So whoever is there is going to impact. The proportion of it might vary. Now, for example, let's say let's say you are let's say your father is super workaholic, and let's say you're super lazy. Okay. Now, south direction of your house is linked with relaxation. It is one of the best directions to have a bedroom. Okay. Now,
South.
south, not southwest, south. Now, let's say you're doing a new house, and let's say we're talking and we're discussing, okay, there's a bedroom in the south. Who should get it? Should my father get it or should I get it? Now, if your father is workaholic, I would say that, it should go to him, because this is an area that will relax him when he sleeps, and he needs that sleep because he's workaholic. If you ask me that, okay, can I use the south bedroom? And I'm super lazy. Okay. So if you say I'm super lazy already, that means you're already very relaxed. We need to push you to work. So then I would say you don't take up south bedroom, because if you go over there, you'll become more lazy. Right? So depending on your persona, how your nature is, accordingly, we see what might suit you the best. It's just like saying that when you go to the doctor might give Dolo for the same client, or he might give you a kerosene for the same client, or maybe a steroid, depending on your condition. He might customize it. You might say, ki meko isse allergy hai. I can't take this. Yeah. So he will customize it. So similarly, is the same thing.
Fair enough. And for the plots?
Now, for the plots,
it's the same.
Now, with regards to the plot, so now as a builder, you would be working on multiple sites at the same time.
Yes.
Now, let's say you have 4 sites that you're working on. Okay. Now, the errors that you make on site A will impact the working of site A. It will not impact your B, C, and D. Right? At the same time, the errors in your site A, if you're a builder and if you're building a G+20 structure, that cannot give you health problem. That would be linked with your bungalow, with your house. That could give you, let's say, legal issues with this property, excess expenditure for this property, anything that's related to this property. It could be that you say that, it went into so many legal issues because of which I got stressed and because of which I got a health problem. That's a link there, but the health problem is not being caused by this. Something else is being caused by this.
It disturbed the health of the business.
Yeah. And let's say how soon you will be able to sell off your apartments in building A will depend on the Vastu of building A, not B. So it is concerns with respect to that particular project.
So I want to take a real life case study example which I have seen and witnessed. First of all, circles and curves are not welcomed by Vastu at all. Am I right?
Let's move ahead.
Okay. So there's a project. The whole building, the shape and architecture of the building is that each home has a curved balcony attached to it. And it is one of the most luxurious projects, and also the rates at which it was selling earlier was a good price, and it has escalated to also a benchmark or a landmark pricing as well. So I don't know if I'm right or wrong, but I had this thought in my mind that circles are not welcomed by Vastu, and still that project flourished, the developer flourished, the sale or the clients are flourishing.
See, let's try to understand what the shape thing is, okay? Now, it's not like it's not welcomed or it's not good. If there is a concept around a circular building, okay, which our parliament also was. It was a circle. Now, as compared to a square or rectangle, you would see a circle has no edges, right? So one of the perspective or one line of thought is that, you don't yearn for growth then. You don't yearn for growth then. You feel that, I'm content. There are no ends to meet, so I'm content. Okay. So it doesn't mean it's a bad thing, right? Now, at the same time, there is more of a concept of a triangle, which is not great. Why? Because a triangle represents fire. The shape triangle represents fire. Now, in your normal life, if I ask you, if somebody has too much fire, how is this person going to behave?
Won't be relaxed or...
Like somebody has too much fire.
He's too much aggressive.
Fire, very aggressive, maybe shouting all the time, right? If somebody has no fire at all, like nothing at all, how is that person going to behave?
Calm.
not calm, like no
Lazy.
fire. He'll be lazy. He won't have the passion to do anything. So
Right.
you're doing this podcast because you have some passion that, I want to do this. It doesn't mean that you're shouting at people, okay, get me people. But you are passionate about it, hence you're doing it. If that passion is taken away from you, you will not put the efforts to, contact people and do this. So you need some amount of fire element. Too much is also bad, too little is also bad. So similarly, a triangular plot represents fire element. Now, if it is a triangle, that, depending on what is the proportion, that disturbs your fire element of your life. But just if, now this is my perspective on the ways of what I have seen. If this is my apartment and if just this part is curved, I don't think this will cause as big a problem. In fact, the space element, so there are 5 elements as per Vastu. Every element has a shape, so fire has triangle. The space element has circle. Okay, so if let's say this is coming towards your space element areas, could be good. So just like, where else do you use circular elements? You can use circular staircase in your house, the one that goes to the terrace, let's say. If it is coming around the space areas, or so on the basis of element theory, if it is falling in the right place, it works. If you're using this round table, there's no problem. There's no problem. See, the reason why somebody might say that a curve could be bad is something that I was researching. So if you remember in Juhu, there is this corner when you go around Gulmohar Road, the NMS road, and there's a turn. There used to be a Costa Coffee 5 years back when I was studying there. There used to be a Costa. Now it's something else. And in those 5 years I stayed, I've seen at least 3 things open up and close there. And same way now also there's something, I'm coming after 5 years and now also there's something different. So I was trying to understand what must be the reason. I still need to revisit it again. But see, in curves, what could be one case is, if let's say the curve is like this. Now, how is it different than this? Over here, if I take the center of this property, these directions which are coming, even though it is a curve, it still has some area here, right? Whereas if my plot becomes like this, it would mean that these areas are hardly there. So this imbalance could be a problem. Just because it's a curve, I don't think that would cause a problem. If the curve is like this,
The degree of curve matters.
the proportion it holds in the site would matter.
Okay.
Because basically, your 16 zones of your life. Like, if I ask you, if you make a lot of money in your new house, will you be happy? If I say you make a lot of money, but there's no health, horrible relationship, will you be happy? No. You need everything. Let's say you're making a lot of money, but you can't go to vacations.
Doesn't make sense
Yeah.
to make money.
Right? So you need everything. And you need everything in balance is good. Like, eating almonds is good, but eating 1 packet of almond every day is not good.
So, like, I've heard a lot, I've experienced a lot, like, people become very excited and, like, chorus plot hai. And why is it a preference more towards rectangular square plots over these curves if it doesn't matter so much if the curve is less? Or maybe it's some another shaped plot having 5 sides, 6 sides, but still a sensible
It's
figure.
about balancing. Na? See, again, if I draw a square and if I draw the directions here, if let's say, so the way we call it a bar graph theory. So depending on how much area it is, we draw a graph out of it. We calculate the average and see what is the average. So when you calculate the average for such a plot, it's easier for you to get this into balance as compared to something which is like this or something which is like this.
Got it. So it's about the balance in all directions more over the size or the shape of the plot. So if it's a circular plot, there's no problem with that.
Circular plot. See, circle, like I said, it represents your content. Like, this is again what I've read or as per my experience. Circle would mean that you're not running for anything. It's more of a spiritual sign, I would say. That's why you would see that, a lot of religious places might be, ancient religious place could be round. But if let's say you are building a house which is on a round shaped plot, that might mean you might get too much into spirituality, probably. So it doesn't mean you're going to die, basically. But it's going to lead to a certain aspect. Now, if you are a growing builder and if I put you into a place which makes you religious, it will stop growing.
Right. So the plot is a square or a rectangular plot having a good balance of all the directions. But the building that is going to be made on the plot is circular. Is that a problem?
It depends on what is the purpose of this building.
Residential.
See, a round shape as per astrology is more supportive of, let's say, school-related projects, educational institutes. As per astrology, a round shape is associated with that. So if you see any of the top schools in India, like schools that have tested, who have been here since 100 years, if you look at their Google Earth views, you would notice that they'll have some element of round in it. Either the auditorium will be round, or they would have an evident round cricket ground, or one building is completely round. So that round element, it comes in from astrology as well, that it supports in educational structures. But if it is a residential and it's a round building, I have not seen any such example. I am not sure if it will be a good thing. Because if it's a round, and let's say if you're making apartments, it'll again come to that proportion, right? If it's circle and if you cut it like this,
You'll have some imbalance in all areas. Got it.
So something will change. Because, however, I've seen buildings.
But there will be a less of space in few areas will have more of.
Yeah, so ये ज़्यादा हो गया, ये कम हो गया.
नहीं, अगर आप इसको समझो 3 पार्ट में डिवाइड कर दो, all 3 areas will measure the same, or all the 16 sides will measure
See,
the same, so balance will be there,
No,
right?
I'm saying ये circle है. You have 4 apartments here.
Apartments अगर 4 है तो
A,
problem
B,
है.
C, D apartment है, तो इनका center अलग-अलग होगा.
हाँ, fair enough. If it's a one flat on the whole floor.
Not sure. I've seen cases wherein, because I've seen some apartments in Dubai, wherein the building itself had some curved element, let's say, like this, and then the apartments come like this. So they have a part of curve in it, and we've done Vastu for them, and that's what they've been living there since 2 years now, and they're doing great. So that element of
Very subjective and depends on very case to case.
It's not like curve is always bad. It's not like that.
Got it. Now coming to you studied architecture, you ventured into Vastu, and you have done a quite amount of work, and also you have a good amount of knowledge. Is there an end to gaining that knowledge?
So when I did my first course in Vastu, and so I then started for my practice. I started working under a Vedic Vastu consultant, where I could go on site visits with him to see how it's practically working. And then, because I learned from a different school of thought, I follow a Mahavastu school of thought. I was trained under that school of thought. And this guy I was training under, he was from a Vedic school of thought. So they're different school of thoughts in Vastu. And whatever he would say on the site visit, there would be things that I wouldn't understand. That, why did he say that? I didn't learn that. So I went back and I spoke to my teacher who I learned Vastu from. And I said, because I was very worried, I was like, sir, he is giving this solution to this problem, but then I have learned this. So, who's right? Right? So he told me that, okay, so you've learned the school of thought that we have learned, and you've been following it? I said, yes. How many cases have you done with this? I said, 500 plus. He said, did you get results in all of those? I said, yes. Then he said, then it doesn't matter what other person's school of thought is. It's just like saying, if you go to 2 doctors and if you go with the same problem, both of the doctors will have a different opinion depending on their experience with the cases that they've done. So
Right.
even if he's giving a different remedy, probably as per his experience, he has seen that working. That's why he's giving it.
Got it.
Right? So then I asked him that, okay, then do I need to learn more? Or, because I've learned it, I think, then I'm doing it. He has been practicing for, I think, more than 15, 20 years, the teacher I learned from. He said, I'm still learning Vastu. If you're getting into occult, there's no end. Because even now, after doing 2,500 plus cases, every case that comes, there's a new learning every single time. So there's no end.
Now people do believe that Vastu is connected somehow to the Hindus. Is
To
there?
the Hindus.
Yeah.
Okay.
So is that a myth or not?
That's a myth because we have a lot of clients who are Christians. We have a lot of clients who are Muslims. See, if I ask you, the principles of Vastu are based on the movement of the sun and directions.
Okay.
Does the sun rise in the east for all religions?
Yes.
Does the sun set in the west for
Yeah.
all religions?
If you could speak about few of the cost-effective remedies that people could do, and sometimes it's that people cannot afford to have such a huge expensive change to their working or at their home. What could be those examples?
Most of the times you don't have to make expensive changes. So again, there are different ways of practicing Vastu. The way I look, so because the remedy bit is not part of the traditional Vastu, the subject itself. Remedies are like, let's say, 70 years ago, you didn't have a quick cure for cancer. Now you do, up to a certain level. So, similarly, when we talk about remedies in Vastu, it is what people have developed over a period of time on the basis of their experience. So, it's not written in stone, it's on their experience. So, because of my background in architecture, the way I practice Vastu is, if there's a mistake in the site or if there's something that I need to enhance, instead of giving, let's say, an additional object to you that, you put it, let's say it's a fire corner, and let's say you used a watercolor over there, let's say some curtains are there which is of a certain color. Now, I might ask you that, okay, it's a watercolor in a fire. We need to change it. Now, the change could be that, just remove this curtain, don't put anything. It could be, if there is any other curtain I can interchange with in your house, you can interchange it. If you say that, I don't mind spending and, I can just buy a new curtain, you do that. You might say that, I can't afford a new curtain. I need to put a curtain because, because of privacy issues. But I have zero money to spend. I might say, okay, hang a bed sheet there. Like, it doesn't matter how I change the color. The important thing is I need to change the color there. Now, how much money you want to spend over there, that's up to you. It doesn't have to, if I'm asking you to shift your sofa from here to here, it's not going to cost you any money. So it's about realigning things in your house in correct place. If sitting over here can give you better productivity as compared to there, then just shift it. That's
Fair
it.
enough. So it depends on person to person's
Yeah, so
capability and
exactly. So that's why when we specifically consult, we try to understand first what is the kind of changes that the client is willing to make. In most of the times, because we do a lot of NRI clients, in properties like Dubai, even nailing on the wall is not allowed. Some properties are that strict in Dubai. If you're living on rent, I can't even ask them to hang a painting. So even in such conditions, by realigning things, we have gotten results. So you don't have to spend money to fix your house and get results as per Vastu.
how immediate is Vastu? Because you said an example that in 10 days they were able to witness a change. Is it possible that a person might take 1 month or more than that time to feel the change or get the change? Or it can be like immediately the next hour you see the change? What is the timelines for witnessing the change?
So it depends on the problem. Let's say, like I said, that the first thing I tried was looking for a job, and within a week I got 3 random opportunities. Let's say somebody has a health problem and that is there since years. Okay. And now that's aggravating. And that's when somebody comes to us. So when ab jo immunity, whatever had to go down, has already gone down. We can't fix it. The only thing we can do is we can try to maintain it. So with critical things like this, it could take longer. But if, let's say, you say that I don't feel productive, my productivity is too low, can you tell me how do I sit or what do I do to feel more productive? I might ask you to relocate your work desk or change certain things in your house. You will start noticing results within a week or even less.
So it depends on the kind of change
The
or
gravity of
the
the problem. Gravity of the problem more than
Got it.
anything.
So just wanting few opinions, suggestions, advices that people could immediately apply to their lives without implementing the hassle for knowing the directions of that particular thing.
Okay. So the first thing would be every household has one corner in the house which is your store or which is a place where you would keep all your junk, which you only clean up during Diwali. Now, what happens is if you're storing junk in a particular direction, irrespective of what direction it is, and you're not even touching it for the entire year, it sort of puts in like a stuck energy in your house. So depending on whichever zone that is, that particular aspect of your life will be getting disturbed. So if you have any stuck corners in your house, clean that up. That's something that you can do without even knowing the directions. That's the first thing. Second thing, I would say that a lot of households, they have seepage issues, especially in Bombay with the rains. It's a every year thing. So a lot of times we become complacent to it. Acha, monsoon aaya hai, there'll be this corner where there's rain. Once the rain goes away, it becomes fine and they don't repaint it. Even though maybe the seepage is wet or dry, they've just not painted. Now, if you have any such corners, having a seepage in any particular direction of your house is as bad as having a toilet over there. So if you have any areas in your house where you have this seepage or paint coming off, fix it.
So water leakages
Water
should be
leakages, yeah.
fixed immediately.
Right. The third thing that people could probably try is your entrance to the house. So your entrance is the house. So what would you do when you have guests coming over? What would you do in the entrance foyer area, right outside your door? You'll decorate or you'll at least put on some lights to begin with. Now, on an everyday basis, you don't do that. All your energies are coming in from there. Now, for the energies, so where would you, so if there are two doors, one is looking bright and nice and there's lit up, and the other one is dark and dingy. Where will you want to go? The bright. So similarly, if you want good energies to come into your house, you need to keep it lit. If because of the corridor is dark and let's say there's no natural light coming in, you always keep a light on, a white color light on right outside your entrance. Don't switch it off.
So, small confusion I had. Is it good to have a breaking glass or an unbroken glass? I feel sometimes I have heard like कांच टूटा हुआ lucky hai. Sometimes I heard like your phone's broken, the glass is broken, you should get it repaired immediately. So really,
So these are two concepts that you're mixing, okay? As per astrology, sometimes they say achanak glass tootna is a good sign. Okay. Suddenly, if the glass is breaking, that's a positive sign. No, so again, that's subjective, I'm not an astrology expert, but this is what I've heard. But then you clinging on to that broken glass is not good. तो वो टूट गया है तो उसको फेंक दो. उसका जो भी पॉजिटिव साइन था भी तो वो बता गया है. Now you throw it. उसको रखना नहीं है. So if your glass screen is broken and let's say all your business meetings and everything you're doing from your phone, तो अच्छा नहीं है.
definitely. So I feel
Glad you brought this up because a lot of times that tempered would break, and that was a similar situation for me also because I would be that before I learned Vastu, I would be that person that I would keep dropping my phone every now and then, and my temper would always be broken, like always. And I would be like, "ठीक है, if I'll change it within 2 weeks again, I'll break it." So fine. But then when I got into this, I realized that that's not okay because that's your main source of work that you're doing, and having something broken over there is not a positive thing.
So today people are like you seeing or taking care of your clients. Where do you see with comparison of today and 5 years down the line, people jumping on more towards Vastu, or normally how is the people's reaction towards Vastu compliant residences, offices, projects?
I feel so we deal with a lot of clients from the age group of let's say 30 to 45, 50ish. So there are 3 segments of audience around Vastu, okay? The first segment is people who say we don't believe in Vastu at all. We don't want to believe in it. Which is good. Great. They've made a decision. The other segment is, let's say, our ancestors who have been following Vastu for a very long time. That's another segment. They already believe in it. And most of them, however, I feel are from the notion that, okay, ऐसा होता है तो ये कर लो, but not necessarily questioning कि why should I do it. They're just doing it because they get results, so they've continued doing it. Then there's another segment in the middle, which is confused. Should I follow? Should I not follow? And this is the audience that usually comes to us, because these are mainly individuals who are like again between 30 to 40s, who are, they don't mind trying a new thing, but they need to know why I'm doing this. They need to understand the logic. If I logically explain to you that this is why you need to do this, they're good to follow, but they need to understand the logic. So which is why one of the reasons why I also didn't believe in Vastu earlier was because the way it was being marketed, it was marketed like कि ऐसा नहीं करोगे तो बर्बाद हो जाओगे, ये नहीं होगा तो ये हो जाएगा. The way Vastu is traditionally marketed, they're trying to create a fear around the subject, which I never liked. And that's why I went running away from it, because I was like, why? Why? And now that I've seen what the science and what it can bring to people's life, I feel instead of creating a fear, it should be seen as something that you can implement to enhance your life instead of fearing from it. So that's the kind of awareness I'm trying to create from my Instagram page, wherein we try to tell facts and try to tell them why are we saying that, so that logically you understand. A lot of times when students learn Vastu from me, architects learn Vastu from me, after that they're like, okay, like this is what we've learned, but when we go out there and practice, we meet other Vastu consultants who might have different opinions. So if our clients asking us a random thing which maybe we have not addressed right now, how do we cater to that? So all I say to them simply is, now that you know the basic, you just need to understand that you understand how the basics, the logics work. If a new thing is coming to you, let's say, is having a round building good or not? If you want to find an answer to that, look at 10 round buildings. Look at what is happening to them. You will see a pattern. Once you see that pattern, you know it's true or false. So you just go and check. If somebody is asking you, okay, can I have a shoe rack right outside my house? Go and check. Can I have a TV reflecting my bed? Everybody does it. Everybody does it. And there's so many videos around. Oh, if your reflection is getting in the TV, this is going to happen, that is going to happen. Every household has it. Is everybody getting a divorce?
Fair enough. I think so. We have burst a lot of myths today and also got good understanding of various things in terms of how or what things to be taken care of while living in a home, and in terms of we had few discussions regarding real estate plots and building buildings as well. So for me, this was a good session, but knowing how deep this is, it feels like it's not even 1% of the knowledge out there. And you being there teaching courses would definitely be your next student for your upcoming.
No, that's exactly why. So a lot of times we've come across cases wherein the clients would show us a layout and they'd be like, we've gotten it done from the architect and the architect has done it as per Vastu, but we just wanted to double check. And when I look at those layout, I know what's happening in the architect's office because I've been there. I've been with that client. So I know that this is not something which is being taught or discussed. You just follow the basics that, okay, bedroom in southwest, kitchen in southeast, mandir in northeast, done Vastu. But that's not Vastu. What Vastu is. We're not even seeing a 5-degree variance. Approximate ho gaya corners mein, it's done. But it's not how it works. So specifically because of this, I am currently writing a book on Vastu. So I went around colleges in India, top colleges, I don't want to name them, looking for books on Vastu, how many books on Vastu they had. And I didn't find more than 5-6 books in a college with, very big libraries as well, which was very sad. And out of those 5-6 books, 3-4 would be like the norm around Feng Shui, the magazine styles, harmonious living and positivity. Nothing that you can read and practice directly. Other books would be like historical sort of books, which when you read as an architect, you will not be able to relate to. Which is why I said that, okay, let me write a book on Vastu such that any architect can keep it in their studio. So if there's any client who's coming to them and asking them for Vastu, instead of Googling stuff, just open that book, just flip through, okay, this is the plot, okay, this is what I need to do, next step this. So just follow whatever is written there in terms of cross-checking, okay, am I going in the right direction? So it just acts as a dictionary for Vastu for architects, so you can design as per Vastu.
I feel it's a great initiative that you have taken and will help a lot and will change lives of people. So thank you so much for giving out your knowledge, and I hope this makes a difference to the lives of people. And I believe this is a never ending conversation. Like, still, there are a lot of questions that I would want to solve, but there's a limitation of a time that people would like to listen to a podcast. So, but thank you for coming out here and being a part of this. Really grateful to have you.
Likewise, thank you so much.